Welcome back to Pramati Hillview Academy Digital Class, my dear students. Dear students, in the previous class you learnt about Abdul Kalam's birth, about his birthplace, about his family background. You also learnt about his parents, how generous they were, how honest they were, how disciplined they were, how they set a very good example for Kalam to lead a beautiful life. In this session, you are going to know more and more interesting and fascinating stories about our beloved APJ Abdul Kalam. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic, means in terms of money and emotional environment, and trained in certain ways by figures of authority. A person who had authority. Here, Abdul Kalam is saying about who were the persons who had the authority on him. I inherited honesty and self-discipline from my father, and from my mother I inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness, and so did my 3 brothers and sister. In this stanza, Abdul Kalam sir says, for a child, the figure of authority is his parents. The next figure of authority can be his teacher, a person who has authority over the child. APJ is saying that whenever a child is born, he would have some qualities which he acquires from his elders of his own family. These depend upon the social status of the family and also the environment of the family. From his father, Abdul Kalam says he inherited honesty and self-discipline. From his mother, he inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness. His siblings also inherited the qualities from their parents. I had 3 close friends in my childhood, Ramanatha Sastri, Aravindan and Sivaprakashan. All these boys were from orthodox, means strict Hindu Brahmin families. As children, none of us ever felt any difference amongst ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. In fact, Ramanatha Sastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Sastri, the high priest of Rameshwaram temple. Later he took over the priesthood of the Rameshwaram temple from his father. Aravindan went into a business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims, and Shivaprakashan became a catering contractor for the Southern Railways. Abdul Kalam says that he had 3 close friends in his childhood, Ramanatha Sastri, Aravindan and Shivaprakashan. All of them belonged to very strict Hindu Brahmin families and ardent followers of their religion. As Kalam was from Muslim family, he says that during his childhood, all the children were so close to each other that they never felt they belonged to different religions. Religion was not a barrier in their friendship. There is a very famous temple in Rameswaram, the Rameswaram temple. APJ's best friend, Ramanatha Sastri, was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Sastri, the priest of this temple. When these 3 friends grew up, Ramanatha Sastri took the priesthood of Rameshwaram temple. Aravindan started a business of transporting the pilgrims to Rameshwaram temple, and Shivaprakashan became a catering contractor for the Southern Railway, as he was in charge of the catering for the railways. During the annual Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony, our family used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying idols of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site, situated in the middle of the pond called Ramatirtha, which was near our house. Dear students, let me explain what is Ramakalyanam ceremony. Ramakalyanam ceremony is known as Kalyanotsava. It means marriage festival. In South India, marriage is known as Kalyanam. So Lord Rama and Sita's marriage is called Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony. It is the ceremony of the depiction of the marriage between Sita and Rama. Whenever the Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony used to take place in Rameshwaram, APJ's family also took part in it. They used to arrange the boats for it. They used to make a special platform on the boats on which the statue of Rama and Sita were placed and transported from the temple to the marriage site, which was in the middle of a pond named Ramatirtha. This pond was near APJ's house. When he was growing up, Kalam never ever felt and thought there was any difference between Hindu and Muslims, because everyone participated in that particular festival wholeheartedly. Events from the Ramayana and from the life of Prophet were the bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. So here, APJ Abdul Kalam says that they listened to stories from the Ramayana and the life of the Prophet from their mother and grandmother as bedtime stories. So they listened to the stories of both Hindu gods and Muslim gods, and he says there was no differentiation on grounds of religion. One day, when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramanatha Sastri, who wore the sacred thread. APJ Abdul Kalam recalls an incident that happened in his childhood in this paragraph. He says, as he belonged to a Muslim family, he used to wear a cap on his head, which identified him as a Muslim. His friend Ramanatha Sastri was the son of the priest, belonged to a Hindu Brahmin family, used to wear the sacred thread worn by Brahmins. When these children were in class 5, a new teacher came to their class. APJ Abdul Kalam is recalling that incident again. The new teacher could not stomach means could not tolerate a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. In accordance with our social ranking, as the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. I felt very sad, and so did Ramanatha Sastri. He looked utterly downcast, sad, as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. Here Abdul Kalam sir says, a new teacher who came to their class could not tolerate that a Hindu priest's son sitting next to a Muslim boy. He told Kalam to go and sit on the last bench as he belonged to a lower rank of the society. Both the children felt very bad. When Abdul Kalam changed his seat and went back and sat on the last bench, Ramanatha felt very, very bad. Kalam remembers the image of his friend crying. It left a lifelong impression on Kalam about his friend. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshmana Sastri summoned the teacher, call, and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction, means strong opinion, Lakshmana Sastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. Both Kalam and Ramanatha would go home and tell their parents about this incident. And Ramanatha's father, Lakshmana Sastri, calls the new teacher and scolds him. He tells him not to kill the children's friendship by putting the venomous discrimination of caste and religious thoughts into their innocent minds. Lakshmana Sastri was clear in his stand. He tells the teacher to ask sorry for the wrong he has done, or else he can leave the school and Rameswaram town also. The teacher would ask sorry for the mistake he had done, and due to Lakshmana Sastri's determination, his thoughts about the religions, a young teacher was reformed. On the whole, the small society of Rameswaram was very rigid in terms of the segregation of different social groups. However, my science teacher, Shivasubramanya Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative traditional wife, was something of a rebel in opposition. He did his best to break social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle easily. He used to spend hours with me refers to Abdul Kalam, and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par at the same level with the highly educated people of the big cities. The division of society into four groups, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, was strictly followed in Rameshwaram. Abdul Kalam's science teacher, Shivasubramaniam Iyer, was a religious person, an orthodox Brahmin, but was a rebellion type of a person. He did not believe in distinctions on the basis of the caste system. He worked very hard to break the social barriers. He wanted the people of different castes to interact each other. He encouraged APJ Abdul Kalam to work hard so that he could be at the same level as the highly educated people who lived in big cities. One day, he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in a ritually pure kitchen. Ritually pure, kept protected from all outside influences for the observances of religion. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. Shivasubramania Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. Shivasubramania Iyer's wife belonged to a traditional and orthodox Brahmin family. She followed the religion very strictly, and to keep the kitchen pure, no one from an inferior religion was allowed to enter the kitchen. When Shivasubramania Iyer called APJ for dinner at his home, his wife feared that a boy from a Muslim family would make her kitchen impure. She refused to serve him food in her kitchen. Shivasubramania Iyer was neither angry nor upset. He himself served food to APJ while he was having food. APJ says that his wife stood behind the kitchen door and looked at APJ while he was having food. Kalam says that he doesn't think that she felt there was any difference in the way he was having his food, the way he was drinking water, or in the way he cleaned the floor after the meal. Kalam is trying to highlight that religion doesn't matter, as it doesn't alter the way in which a person eats food. When I was leaving his house, Shivasubramania Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. Face. When I visited his house the next week, Shivasubramania Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. When Abdul Kalam was about to leave Shivasubramania Iyer's house, he invited Kalam for dinner once again. When Shivasubramania Iyer saw that Kalam was hesitant, he asked Kalam not to be upset. He added that if he has to change the system, he has to be strong and brave, and he must confront the situation. When Kalam visited Shivasubramania Iyer's home for dinner the next week, his wife made Kalam sit in the kitchen and served him food with her own hands. Then this surprised Abdul Kalam. Then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Means about to happen. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. Means everyone was experiencing such a feeling which they had never felt before. I asked my father for permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramanathapuram. He told me, as if thinking aloud, Abul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? When the Second World War was got over in the year 1945, India was about to get freedom, which happened in the year 1947. Mahatma Gandhiji, known as the father of our nation, was a crucial part of India's freedom struggle. He said that Indians would build their own India. The entire country was filled with hope and happiness. Everyone was experiencing such a feeling which they had never ever felt before. Everyone was hoping that they would get their freedom. Kalam asked his father to allow him to go to Ramanathapuram, which was the district headquarters for higher studies. In reply, his father told him that he knew that Kalam needed to go away so that he could move ahead in life. He gave the example of a seagull which flies away in the sky all alone and doesn't have a nest. It means it doesn't have a home of its own as it keeps on flying from one place to another place. What an example! What a father Jainuddin was! A good father can help his children to realize their dream. Jainuddin certainly was a good father. He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. Longing means desire. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. When APJ mother came to know that Kalam was about to leave home and wanted to go to Ramanathapuram for higher studies, suddenly she got upset. APJ's father would try to calm her down and told her a few lines from a famous poem titled Your Children, written by Khalil Gibran. He said that your children are not your children, they are the children of life. Don't think that you can rule your children. They are the results of life's desire for itself. They have their own thoughts. Finally, he would advise his wife to give enough freedom for Abdul Kalam to realize his own dream. Dear students, we have come to an end of the chapter My Childhood. What an inspirational story My Childhood is. My Childhood is about the early days of Kalam. This chapter gives us an idea of how the childhood of Abdul Kalam prepared him to become a successful scientist and president in the future. Kalam tells us about his parents and siblings here. He also mentions the important role of his friends in his life. In short, one can say that in My Childhood, Kalam mentions everything that had an impact on his life. These things shaped him into a very successful man he became in the future. Thank you, students.